is Sandstorm Gold finally being re-rated? So I've been getting a lot of questions in the live chat and emails about the company lately. The company shares have actually been on fire the last year. Today alone, shares of Sandstorm Gold, which are on the New York Stock Exchange symbol SAND, are up basically 9% today alone. Just a really big jump in share price and on big volume. And the company has not issued a press release. So in my opinion, and this is not financial advice, and this is a mining stock education update here for Sandstorm Gold, since I figured I would do a little course here, lecture on it with an update, and then make a couple bucks here with addressing some of the questions and giving you guys an update on the company rather than answering people individually. I may as well make a couple bucks off this. That Sandstorm Gold, in my opinion, there are a lot of, I'll read my comments here from Seeking Alpha. There was a new article that just came out in the last couple days from Gold Mining Bull. And in my opinion, one of the main reasons why Sandstorm Gold shares are going up a lot is that, my educated guess, a lot more mutual funds, pension funds, or larger generalist institutional investors, also momentum hedge funds, have been accumulating the stock since the U.S. shares are now well over the $5 per share minimum threshold, allowing more larger generalist investors to actually buy and hold the stock. And this is also giving headwinds to the gold price. Ray Dalio's recent comments about owning even more gold than his 10% recommended position. So more hedge funds are piling in looking for more gold exposure to copy what Dalio said. Dalio, if you're familiar, Dalio has always recommended, I think, about a 10% gold holding. I think a lot of it was GLD in the past, but a lot of people now are going to be piling into the best gold stocks first. So your Kirkland Lake Golds, your Franco Nevadas, your Sandstorm Golds, those are the ones that are the companies with the best fundamentals, the generalists and the momentum chasers, the generalist investors and the momentum chasers who really don't like gold, but since gold is doing well, they're going to be piling into it. So Sandstorm Gold has a market cap on the US stock market of over $1 billion. In Canada, it's been over $1 billion for a while. What the market does not understand, and I think this is why what I think a lot of people don't understand about the company and the stock is that the shares are being re-rated. So the company is now trading at a better multiple on its diversified portfolio of cash flows. So they have over 20 assets online generating cash flow for them. They have very little overhead. This company can generate free cash flow. And now that the silver prices, which when I'm doing this live stream, silver prices are at $16.37. They've been rallying a lot. Gold prices are at $1,446.76, according to Sprott money that I'm looking at right now on Thursday, July 18th, when we're doing this live stream show. Sandstorm Gold can make a lot of money. There is a really stupid Seeking Alpha article writer. He's not good at technical analysis. He claims to be an expert trader. He's not good at that. He claims to know stuff about the company. He issues updates every 3 or 4 months on the company. He's been wrong about everything about the company. He's been telling people to sell shares of Sandstorm Gold at $4, $4.50. He knows nothing about charts on the company. He knows nothing about the fundamentals of the company. He called the company tiny and insignificant. Well, Sandstorm Gold at the current gold price, okay, they just issued a press release in early July, and they have, let me look up here, they have, according to the press release, in the Q2 2019, they had a record 16,400 attributable gold equivalent ounces, or GEO, sold. So if you annualize that number, that's almost 66,000 gold equivalent ounces that the company is now producing, now that the Cerro Moro silver stream is hitting the top and bottom lines, and next quarter in Q3 the Arizona gold stream from Equinox Gold is that mine is at commercial production, and that will hit the bottom line too. Oh, and if, by the way, if the gold price goes to 1,500, that royalty that Sandstorm Gold owns on Arizona, it's going to go from 3% to 4%. And it might not seem like a lot, but the annual cash flow that Sandstorm Gold will get will go from $5 million per year up to $10 million. So the 4% number on the royalty is a big deal. That mine has a lot of exploration upside, as Sandstorm Gold covered in their new Ask a Geologist video, which I recommend that my listeners who are investors in the company go watch. I added that video to the playlist for the mining stock education. I also added additional geology videos that the Sprott team put out years ago about all the different types of economic deposits. So Sandstorm Gold at current gold and silver prices, if you annualize out the revenues of around 65,000 or 66,000 gold equivalent ounces at the current gold price, even 1,400 gold price, it is a massive amount of annual revenue. It is not, quote, tiny and insignificant as this analyst on Seeking Alpha claims. Okay, and by the way, this guy, I just argue with him on facts and math, and he can't even do that. He wants me kicked off Seeking Alpha, which is just ridiculous. If anything, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. No one should listen to him. Supposedly, he recommended selling Kirkland Lake Gold around $10 a share too. Just a real winner. Great track record. So Sandstorm Gold at the current gold and silver prices with their annualized gold equivalent ounce production, and this is not even counting the Fruta del Norte royalty, which should be online as early as October. Maybe there's a delay. This is just how things happen with mining. And Sandstorm Gold is going to have annualized about $90 million per year in revenues. That's a lot of revenues, okay? This is not a tiny little company anymore. $90 million per year in revenue. They only have about $6 or $7 million per year in selling general administrative expenses overhead. So they can, if their shares are cheap, they can buy back their shares. They can slow down the buyback program. There's a lot of flexibility with the cash coming in to reinvest into their business, to plow those profits back in to get really good returns on invested capital. So Nolan Watson and his team are not always going to get deals right. I've actually had some respectful disagreements with him in the past on the copper market and China. And he's a big copper bull. And there's this halfway decent article on Seeking Alpha from, what the guy's name, Gold Stock Bull. And he was Gold Mining Bull. And it's an old article that he releases after his premium subscribers get it. And he's criticizing the company. Meanwhile, the company is getting revalued or re-rated at a higher multiple because they have more cash flow. They have more diversified sources of cash flow. The Cerro Moro silver stream is a very big deal. That is the single largest source of revenue in company history. Sandstorm Gold now has 1 million ounces of silver in their production in the silver stream. Okay, that is a lot of exposure to the silver price. Most people are not thinking of this, and I think this is why Wheaton Precious Metals now. I still call them Silver Wheaton, but there's Silver Wheaton actually. A lot of their silver deals, if you notice this with their partners, the junior and mid-tier silver producers, those deals are bad and had to be either renegotiated or written off or amended. Those contracts had to be amended, and they can't do silver deals because there's not good economics on the mines. So they're doing gold deals, but that exposure that Sandstorm Gold has with the Cerro Moro silver stream, they have a 1 million ounce silver stream. So if the silver price goes crazy, you're getting an enormous amount of optionality with a company that has very little expenses and a lot of positive cash flow. So it's going to be fun being a Sandstorm Gold shareholder for the long term here. I'm not planning on selling any of my shares. I bought a lot for me anyway, of my shares in 2015 and 2016 when there was blood in the streets. I basically tripled my position. So when people were telling me the company was going to go bankrupt, that the CEO was a moron, I did not believe them. I studied the industry really well. I believed the CEO and the vision he had for the future, and I knew that the deals he was doing at the bottom of the market when there was blood in the streets in 2015 and 2016 would eventually pay off, and they have. So that this was a company, I think the market cap was below $300 million back then, and now we're over $1 billion. And the fun things are just getting started because now there's a lot of cash coming in that can be reinvested back into the business. So this is a really solid company. If the shares for Sandstorm Gold were to crash, say back down to $4 or slightly under $4, this is not financial advice, just my opinion, they would be a very big takeover target. So a company like Franco-Nevada or Wheaton Precious Metals, maybe even a Royal Gold, although Royal Gold has a leveraged balance sheet that they need to pay off the debt, and Osisko Gold Royalty, which I think is also trying to, in my opinion, stave off a hostile takeover in the near future from Franco-Nevada, and I think that's why Osisko is buying back their stock. Not only is their stock cheap for Osisko Gold Royalty, but I think the management team there, because they've done a lot of bad deals recently with write-offs, they are worried about a hostile takeover in the next couple years if their shares continue to lag. So Sandstorm Gold shares are being re-rated. Nolan Watson and his team have made some mistakes, but the mistakes are small relative to the wins. Okay, this is the important thing. Is the company, is the management, are they learning from their mistakes? And I've spoken to a lot of gold mining CEOs and a lot of CEOs in the gold industry, and Nolan Watson is one of the few CEOs that actually learns from his mistakes, that actually admitted he made mistakes on the Colossus Minerals deal, and he totally changed the due diligence process. He brought in competent geologists with good track records. He hired mining engineers to go and look at problems before doing a deal. So I think he deserves a ton of credit for repairing the company and fixing things. A ton of credit. He's not going to get every deal right, because that's just how things are with human beings. But I think he has way more winners than losers at this stage of the game. And unlike most gold mining CEOs and silver mining CEOs, he learns from his mistakes. And I think that is the most important thing that you want in a competent CEO. Not only do the management team own a large position of shares, and hopefully the shares that Nolan Watson sold, he will accumulate more soon. But you want a CEO that when they do make mistakes, they learn from them and they change their process. And I think the deal checklist, the due diligence process for deals is totally different. And there's still idiots on Seeking Alpha claiming that it's the same, that the company still makes mistakes and hasn't learned anything. Meanwhile, the share prices are doing very well, and you have more and more larger investors accumulating the stock. And that's why you have the big volume spike, and the chart looks great, despite what some of the people on Seeking Alpha are saying. So I think it's very important with the business model that someone emailed me asking me about Metalla, and this is not financial advice, but Metalla doesn't have enough diversified cash flow. You have to be at least, for this business model to work really, really well, and this is the magic of the business model, you have to be at least at the size of Sandstorm Gold. So you have to be Sandstorm Gold size or larger for the business model to work right. Mavericks Metals is almost there. Mavericks Metals is listing on, I believe they just uplisted to the NASDAQ. So Mavericks Metals, I think they have 25,000 gold equivalent ounces of production. So they still probably, if they want to do larger deals, they still probably have to do some dilution, but they're generating enough diversified cash flow where they could do smaller deals and not have to diversify. And Sandstorm Gold does not have to do a lot of very large, very high-risk deals for the stock price to go up, okay? All the management team has to do from here on out is just to continue to do smart, small and medium-sized deals and continue to diversify that cash flow with deals of different sizes, and they will be rewarded with higher and higher multiples. And this is the key why Franco-Nevada is so richly valued. And Franco is a great company. I did a video on them a few months ago that Franco-Nevada is the safest and most bulletproof gold stock. They have 106 assets online generating cash flow. So if a couple of them go bad, the company survives. They're not over leveraging their balance sheet. So once the business model gets a certain amount of diversified cash flow, there's only a few ways where the company can be totally screwed up. The management team has to do bad deal after bad deal after bad deal, or the management team has to over-leverage the balance sheet with too much debt. Once the business model gets to a certain level of diversified cash flow, the management team has to do really, really dumb things, a whole bunch of them, in large size in order to screw things up. And I believe that Nolan Watson will not do that. Okay, this is not financial advice, but I think he has learned from his mistakes, and I think he's going to keep the deal sizes small. So I saw questions from listeners about the news that came out about Hot Maden and also Turquoise Hill Resources on the Oyu Tolgoi in Mongolia. And the thing that people need to know for Mongolia is that this is a great mine. So first off, the underground mine, the geology on it, this mine could run 70 years or longer. There are a lot of geologists out there that think that the underground portion of the mine, once it is up and running economically, will run for around 70 years. There are some geologists that think that the mine will run for 100 years. Sandstorm Gold owns copper, gold, and silver streams on the highest grade portion of the Oyu Tolgoi underground deposit that has been drilled off, called Heruga. So it's probably still years away. Initially, before there was a delay in Capex overruns for the underground portion of the mine, that part of the mining was not supposed to happen for 6 years, so it's going to take longer. But Sandstorm Gold does not have to pay any more money for those copper, gold, and silver streams on very high grades. So the real gem for that asset is Heruga. It's still years away now, but if that asset, those streams were to go on sale, they would not sell for $40 million, which is what Sandstorm Gold paid, I think, in 2012. Those streams would sell for way more than, I said 40,000, way more than $40 million. Those assets are worth way more than $40 million. I've seen some cash flow projections where they make cash flow for over $20 million per year once those streams are online. It is copper, gold, and silver at very high grades. Sandstorm Gold also owns copper, gold, and silver streams on a more near-term part of the underground part in Mongolia, which is the Hugo North extension. But there's delays and cost overruns at that part of the mine, so they have to finish that out. It looks like there's going to be some substantial overruns. That's going to affect Turquoise Hill. Hopefully, my educated guess is that Turquoise Hill Resources, which is more of a junior or mid-tier, that they will be bought out by, say, a BHP Billiton or a Tech Resources, which would be interested in the copper. BHP Billiton has some upcoming problems at Olympic Dam in Australia, and really there's not a lot of long-term mine life left at Olympic Dam, and that's a lot of copper production that BHP Billiton may want to replace. So we'll see what happens with that. But the Sandstorm Gold management team, Nolan Watson is a copper bull, and he's bullish on China, and I've disagreed with him on that publicly in the past on interviews. Politely disagree. It's respectful disagreement. And he bought shares, I think, in Entree Gold, and I think maybe he personally, with his own money, he bought shares in Turquoise Hill. And Turquoise Hill, on his calculations, he did a podcast interview saying that they were selling at 0.2 of net asset value, which is very cheap, but there were so many delays, and Turquoise Hill has balance sheet problems that I guess given the discount and some of the political risk and the cost overruns and the delays at the underground portion of the mine, that some of that discount was justified. But at some point, that underground mine is so good that you will see a larger miner come in and buy it out, I think. The other thing on Hot Manen is that, yes, there's a slight delay on Hot Manen to get the feasibility study out, but I think they're going to be more thorough. It sounds like they're going to be more thorough. They're looking at potentially more upgrades to increase the gold recovery percentage, because I think on the last economic projections that came out for the mine, there was only a projected, I think, 77% recovery for the gold, and they want to get it above 90, like 93 or 94. So they're looking at additional ways to get the gold recoveries up higher. But when that mine is online, it will be one of the highest grade and lowest cost gold mines in the world, one of the 10 lowest and best gold mines in the entire world. So the geology there is superb. Now, this could potentially maybe turn out to be a blessing in disguise for Sandstorm Gold, because then they could just add, with this slight delay in Hot Manen, because then they could add more growth to the pipeline. Because Sandstorm Gold, if the one-time Capex payment that they have to make to Lydia, which will be, as of right now, it's $30 million approximately. It's one-time payment of $30 million for enormous annual cash flows from that mine on the NPI, which is a version of a royalty. And Sandstorm Gold could potentially do one or two other deals before they have to pay that payment to Lydia for Hot Maden. So you could see additional growth deals done to add to the growth pipeline. So the company, people who are going to say the stock is overvalued, no, the stock is being re-rated now because people are looking at the diversified portfolio of cash flows they own and saying, you know what, this is a solid company. Cerro Moro's online, Arizona's online. They're going to get a lot of exploration upside too with the Fruta del Norte royalty when that's online. Fruta del Norte is going to plow a lot of their operating cash flow. Lundin Gold is going to plow a lot of their operating cash flow back into drilling at Fruta del Norte after that mine is online in commercial production. So we're going to see that. 20 times operating cash flow. Well, actually, some of these royalty and streaming companies, it's at net asset value multiples. So the operating cash flow multiple is just one valuation. The net asset value of Sandstorm Gold was buying back shares because they believed that their shares were below 1 times net asset value. And there were people who were saying the chart was bad for Sandstorm Gold on Seeking Alpha. It's just ridiculous. He's been saying that for 18 months, almost 2 years, how bad the chart was. and that anytime the shares got to $4, it should be sold. If anything, you've learned from my podcast that you have to judge people on their long-term track record. So if you're going to stick your neck out and start to make ridiculous predictions, people are going to call you out. Disbursing Weight says Sandstorm is over 3 times higher than the 2016 low. Yeah, and that's when I was buying. A lot of people are telling me I was crazy. Yeah, but what you don't understand, Disbursing Weight, is all that extra cash flow that is coming in from Sandstorm Gold, from their royalty and streaming portfolio. That's going to be reinvested. So the fund is just getting started because they have, unlike regular mining companies, which don't have good balance sheets right now, and a lot of the mining companies need to go to the markets to capital raise, you're going to see the larger miners now in the next 3 to 4 months, you're going to see them do big capital raises. Sandstorm Gold does not need to do that to the market. In fact, as soon as the miners do big capital raises, you could see Sandstorm Gold announce a new royalty or streaming deal without dilution. Hopefully without dilution. And there should be some warrant money that comes in, I think, at the end of this year, because those warrants were given out, I think they were given out many years ago when the company was a tiny little startup. They were like 7 or 8 year warrants or something. I don't want to comment on an entry price for the specific stock. I'm not giving financial advice. I'm just talking about the underlying company. The underlying company is in superb shape now. And I think worst case scenario long term is a larger royalty and streaming company like a Franco-Nevada or Wheaton Precious Metals would come in and buy Sandstorm Gold if the shares fell. And I think the same thing might happen to Osisko Gold Royalty. I think actually because Osisko Gold Royalty has had more asset write-offs and the share price has lagged, Sandstorm Gold's market cap is catching up very quickly to Osisko, that we could see Franco-Nevada potentially come in and try to buy Osisko soon. So this is a very well-run company. The CEO is very smart. There are a lot of people in the resource industry who know a lot of the mining CEOs. I've been up to Toronto at the Sprott headquarters and spoken to some of the hedge fund and private equity guys that Sprott hires. And one of the guys told me that Nolan Watson is the smartest person in the resource industry he has ever met. And this guy has managed money in the resource industry for over 20 years. And he invented gold streams. And then the other companies copied them. He did it at first with Gold Juniors, and then the larger companies copied him, and Nolan Watson did the silver streams first at Silver Wheaton, and then he left to start this company. So I think he's learned from his mistakes, and this is a really solid company. It's not as cheap as it used to be, but if I had more money coming in, if my videos were still making the money that they used to, I would be buying on dips. Again, that's not financial advice. That's just what I would do with my own money, and I think those would be safe. Because the underlying fundamentals of the company are extremely strong. They're going to take that extra cash flow that's coming in, and the fun part now, and this is where you get those big 5-baggers or 10-baggers on stocks, is where management can take that revenue growth, that earnings growth, that free cash flow, and they can plow it right back into the business and make smart reinvestments. So there's a lot of growth in the Sandstorm Gold pipeline that is not priced in at all into the stock. You have Hodmanen, you have the Hackett River royalty. The Mongolian ones are going to be delayed, so I probably justified not to be priced into the stock. But you have permitting now. I think that's starting for the Lobo Marte royalty in Chile. So there is going to be some surprises. And it's going to be fun. For me at least, because my cost basis now on a lot of my shares is low. And hopefully as Hodmanen comes online, I think we're going to get dividends. So it'll start off small if Sandstorm Gold's not bought. Okay, well, I'm going to take a look at listener questions and comments. I covered everything. So Sandstorm Gold has a lot of exposure to silver. A lot of people are not aware of this. They have a big silver stream that's now online. So the Cerro Moro silver stream, if the silver price goes to $30 or $40, Sandstorm Gold would get an additional 30 or 40 million in revenue. So their revenue projections initially for the Cerro Moro silver stream were only $12 million per year for the Cerro Moro silver stream. But if the silver price goes a lot higher to say 25, 30, 40, $40 an ounce, something like that, Sandstorm Gold's cash flow from that one stream just goes exponential. It starts to double, if not triple. And then the fun thing is they don't have the maintenance Capex. And this is where the miners get in trouble with those big Capex bills that have to routinely be paid. The miners can delay them for a few years. A royalty and streaming company does not have that. It's a one-time Capex payment normally. So, and this is why these royalty and streaming companies, you have Franco-Nevada, which is the gold standard, the safest gold stock on the planet. Franco-Nevada has almost 90% gross margins. Okay, that is unheard of for a publicly traded company. Normally, companies with 90% gross margins, you do not see them listed on a stock exchange. 90% gross margins are unheard of. So eventually, if Sandstorm Gold is not bought, we will see a lot more diversified cash flow online. And I don't have to take big risks. I don't have to go and buy juniors. You're going to see, now that the gold and silver prices are rallying, you're going to see in 6 months or less, if this continues, you're going to see a lot of the bad juniors come out. And this is a warning, again, about juniors. I won't name any names, but I want you guys to ask good questions to the investor relations departments, and if you can speak to the senior executives of the junior miner, ask them how much of their annual budgets will be spent on drilling. How much money is going into the ground looking for a deposit or a resource? If it's only 10 or 20% on drilling, it's not a good company, because that means that the management team is wasting shareholder capital to either pay themselves to do traveling and conferences, to steakhouses, or they're going to be bribing newsletter writers or YouTube channels for pump and dump videos. They're going to be flying out newsletter writers out to site visits. They're going to get, and then the newsletter writers may get warrant positions that are not disclosed. This to a small extent, this is still happening, but as the gold and silver prices rally, the fraud is going to come out of the woodwork in Vancouver again. It's going to go nuts. If we get gold like 1600, 1700, the amount of fraud in the juniors is going to explode. There are good juniors. You just have to know where to look and who to trust to do the research. I've talked about this in other mining stock education lectures. I really, at this point, knowing what I know about the lack of honesty and integrity in the gold industry, especially gold mining industry, I would really not buy a junior unless a geologist looked at it. That's just me. A competent geologist with a good track record. Or Eric Sprott. Eric Sprott is, I think, I'm not sure if it's debatable at this point, Eric Sprott is the best stock picker in the mining industry. So if Eric Sprott is researching junior miners, Eric Sprott talks about some juniors on the Sprott Money weekly wrap-up every Friday over on the Sprott Money channel. Sprott is on point. He's not a geologist, but he actually goes and visits the properties, and he's not going to hit on every junior, but he's really good. On the ones he wins on, he wins big. He bought Kirkland Lake Gold, a lot of it, for I think $2 a share, and he made more than 20 times his money, plus dividends. And that was just one stock. I think I heard that he made $500 million just on that one stock. And he doesn't need the money, clearly, but that's still impressive. In only like 3 or 4 years, he made it $500 million. Okay, let me take a look at listener questions and comments. So that's my warning on juniors. If you're going to buy individual junior miners and you're not going to pay for the right paid newsletter and you're not going to buy a mining stock ETF, email the investor relations department or talk to senior management if you go to conferences and you have a chance to get in front of them and ask them point blank, see if they waver on this, see if they take off eye contact, see if they're fidgeting around. How much money of your annual budget is going into drilling? How much is going on marketing? How much is going on salary for management? How much stock options? Because some of these juniors, guys, as soon as the gold and silver prices go up, they're going to be paying themselves absorbent salaries, $1 million or more, $2 million a year to not drill, to just to go to conferences, raise capital, and pay people to pump on YouTube videos. Again, Sprott doesn't always get everything right, but I think clearly with his long-term track record, he has a lot more winners than losers in the mining industry. So Sandstorm cash flow, on their operating cash flow multiple, their growth pipeline is not being priced in at all. You have Hot Modern and a lot of their other growth pipeline stuff. Fruta del Norte, the royalty is not priced in. It's a small royalty to start with, but there's an enormous amount of exploration upside at that project. Like that, there could potentially be multiple mines in a district there. I've listened to the conference calls and the presentations at resource conferences because they put those videos up after the conference. You can watch them online for free. And the geologists at Lundin Gold are very optimistic that they will find a lot more gold resource at Fruta del Norte. And Sandstorm Gold has had a lot of exploration success with a lot of their partners. There's been an enormous amount of exploration success that's not priced into the stock either. A lot of their produced ounces each year and their revenues get replaced. That's how good their partners are for royalties and streams. The geologists at Sandstorm Gold are worth every dollar that they're being paid. And they're on the road a lot. So these guys are not sitting back at the office relaxing. These guys they're earning their paychecks. They're worth every cent. I'm glad to hear that, Shane. Yeah, there's a lot of mine stocks that are up. So Rasputin is naming some of them. What you're going to see, a lot of the stocks you just named Rasputin are going to raise capital. So your Heclas, your Coeur d'Alenes, your Great Panthers, a lot of them over the next 3 to 6 months are going to be raising, some of them are going to be raising $100 million or more. And that's going to hurt the stock. There's going to be big capital raises because the miners have put off, a lot of them have put off big Capex expenses. Okay, so I think I've done enough of an update. So even though Sandstorm Gold, the management team has done some bad investments on some of their mining stock deals, they did make a profit on their mining debt for Equinox Gold. They just got $10 million in cash back from the Equinox convertible debentures, and you won't see that mentioned in the Seeking Alpha article with the Sandstorm Gold update. It should have been. So this is why the business model works, because even if there's a couple bad investments for 10 million or 20 million into some mining shares that don't go right, they still have a diversified portfolio of cash flows that there's still lots of cash coming in each month. There's even more cash coming in at higher gold and silver prices. And that money I think there will be more good investments than bad investments reinvesting into the business. Okay, guys, that's it for now for this update. Everyone have a nice rest of your week.